Welcome to Paddlecast with Betsy
and Billy. On Paddlecast, we talk to and about paddlers who are pushing limits, paddlers who are pushing their own limits, and pushing limits of paddle sports. To help with our preview of the Liffey Descent, which is one of the world's longest running paddling races and the most iconic race in Ireland, we have a world-class paddler to tell us all about it. Jenny Egan-Simmons.
Jenny is Ireland's most decorated canoeist and a great expert on the Liffey. We are going to introduce her properly in just a minute, but let's start with a little bit more about the Liffey first. The Liffey Descent is a really cool and historic downriver race in Ireland. The event started in 1959. It was originally established to promote the sport of kayaking and to celebrate the river. Over the decades, it has grown in popularity, attracting paddlers from all over the globe.
The race is about 30 kilometres down the River Liffey. The course has 10 weirs and 1 portage. It starts within the grounds of the famous K Club in Straffan and finishes about 30 kilometres later at the Garda Boat Club, Island Bridge, Dublin. If you were to keep paddling past the finish line, you'd go right through the centre of Dublin and out to Dublin Bay and the Irish Sea. The race is known for its challenging features and great atmosphere. Some notable former winners in recent years include reigning world marathon champion Brandt Pedersen and South Africa's Hamish Lovemore and Clint Cook. Last year, Clint Cook won with Joshua Simpkins. John O'Grady and I finished second behind Clint and Josh last year.
And of course, one of the notable former winners is Jenny Egan-Simmons, who is here with us today. Welcome, Jenny.
Hi, Betsy. Hi, Billy. Thanks for having me on. Delighted to be part of your
It's a pleasure.
show.
It's amazing to have you here. Thank you for joining us. So Jenny was the first paddler from Ireland to win World Championship, World Cup, and European medals in canoe sprint in either the men's or women's category, as well as being the first woman to win a world level medal in marathon.
Yeah, it's been an exciting journey so far. I've competed for Ireland for 20 years, year in, year out at World Cup, World Championship, European Championship, and European Games level. Before that, obviously, I was also paddling for quite a while. I started when I was 3 years old in my own boat, but my mum and dad were both canoeists, and my mum trained when she was pregnant with me. So I guess you could say I was meant to be a canoeist. And my brother's also been an international paddler. And yeah, it's been a great journey to this day. I did my first race when I was 8 years old. I became British national sprint and marathon champion under 14 and won Ireland's first female canoe marathon world championship medal in 2005 also. So it's been fantastic, and I'm very lucky to have the support I have to this day from Canoeing Ireland. And I had great support from Sport Ireland over the years, as well as the Olympic Federation of Ireland. And of course, my husband, John Simmons, is the national coach, and John and my brother Peter have been my coaches throughout my years of canoeing.
It's a very impressive career, and I think I counted, is it about 20 international medals?
Yeah, correct. From World Cup, World Championship, and European Championship levels. And, you know, I have great support from my club as well, Salmon Canoe Club. So it's where I've been my whole life, year in, year out, training on the River Liffey. So it's been a fantastic journey. And of course, you know, there was years that were difficult as well. But those difficult years then bring you on and make you appreciate those World Championship podiums. So look, I love the journey and I love training, and I've had so many different opportunities from my sport as well. So it's brilliant.
That is so cool. And you have also recently featured in the commentary box, which I loved listening to your commentary. You were there in Milan at the Sprint World Championships just a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, so it's been fantastic to do a different side of the sport this year. So I was doing the commentary for the ICF World Cups canoe sprint earlier in the year in Szeged and Poznan. And then I did the World Championships in Milan, Italy. So it's been brilliant to look at the sport in a different way, be able to commentate, use my experience and my knowledge from over the years, and look on as I see so many people I've competed against achieving on the world stage still. So it's been a real honor to be part of the sport in a different way this year, and yeah, something I've really enjoyed doing.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. But looking at the Liffey Descent, Jenny has raced 11 times and won her category 10 times, mostly in the mixed doubles with John Simmons, her now husband, and coach at Salmon Canoe Club. In 2003 and 2004, she and John won the junior doubles category overall, with Jenny becoming the first girl to take that title. She also holds the mixed course record of 1 hour, 51 minutes and 52 seconds, and the K1 women's record of 2 hours, 3 minutes and 44 seconds.
Yeah, and we're still married. Yeah, so it's been, the Liffey Descent is ingrained in, Irish paddling. As an Irish canoeist, if you haven't done the Liffey Descent, it's very unusual. So our family as well, there's a Liffey Descent book, and our family, the Egan family, my mum, dad, and my brother have all won medals in the categories we've raced. So, and it's been a fantastic journey to this date, with my family involvement as well. But yeah, John and I did our first Liffey Descent in 2003, as he said. It was the first time John had really shot a proper weir. He'd gone down some small little weirs in the past, but nothing like what's in the Liffey Descent. So our main goal was to get down without any swims, don't break the boat, don't break paddles. So to then win it as the first junior girl to win the junior boys category was, yeah, amazing. And it's definitely one of my fondest memories to date as well. And I remember my mum was supporting us following down, and my brother and dad were actually away at the Sprint World Championships in Gainesville at that time. And I remember ringing them when we finished saying we got down, no swims, and we won as well. So I think for anyone who's experienced Lift Descent, as you know, Billy, there's big water levels on it, big weirs. So there's so many different obstacles to overcome on the way down the river. So for it all to come together in the day is what you hope for.
Yeah, Betsy and I were discussing how hard it is to have a clean race, and I think of the podium last year, only Clint and Josh got down truly clean. So it is hard.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's a hard race anyway. Like many of us discuss the fact that, okay, there are 10 weirs, 2 sets of rapids, and a 500-meter portage, but it's also a long, hard race. And the weirs make up only part of it. It's the river in between, going across the lake in Leixlip by Salmon Canoe Club. That's a hard grind. And also down in the lower section, if anyone has been in a position to try and fight for the gold medal or fight for a medal after the last weir, Chapelizod to Island Bridge at the Garda Boat Club just seems like forever. And, at that stage of the race, you're just so fatigued and you're trying to give it your all. And it's a fantastic race because it challenges you as a kayaker in so many ways, both physically and mentally. And it has so many different elements to it that's why it's one of the most iconic canoe marathon races in the world.
Yeah, that's really cool.
11 finishes. What keeps you coming back to the Liffey again and again?
I think it's the atmosphere. I think, like I said, it's ingrained in Irish canoeing history. This year will be the 64th International Liffey Descent, and it's about the canoeing community coming together as well. You see people that you might only see once a year, and that's at the Liffey Descent. And for me, that's probably the most special. The race is one part, but then the atmosphere and the community spirit that it brings is second to none. And the celebration of this sport and how we all love canoeing is what's most special about it. And yeah, like it's such a historic race, and not every year will people have good races, but we all have these stories to tell each other. And, that's what's great. I think afterwards chatting and reminiscing about maybe years gone by of what the race was like, and then the race you've had this year, and talking to other people, international paddlers, seeing how they feel about it. And most people always say we always want to come back to the Liffey Descent. So I think that's something as an Irish paddler we're so proud of. We're so proud of our Liffey Descent race, and to have that community that keep wanting to come back to race it.
Yeah, love it. Let's talk through the course from the beginning. So I've only raced the Liffey twice, last year and in 2015, but it's always extremely tense at the start. Is that the most exciting part for you?
Yeah, look, every year when I'm racing it, we always go and look at the Weirs the day before. Even though we've grown up and lived there our whole lives and have raced it so many times, we go and we view the Weirs the day before. And it's to refresh it in your mind, even though like where to shoot them, but it's just important to go and check them out the day before to make sure there's no obstacles, no trees in the way of where you normally shoot. So the river level the day before is very different. And then you arrive the morning of the race and you walk to the first weir at Straffan and you hear the water thundering down. You're like, oh God, here we go. Such a difference to the day before. There's like just water swirling and gushing and like the noise it's making. So, obviously the adrenaline is building up in your body and you can feel your heart beginning to go. And yeah, so the start is only 1,500 meters above this first weir. So everyone is paddling. They get on the water and they paddle up to the start. So you're paddling upriver and you can feel that tense atmosphere, that nervous atmosphere among everyone. And, the commentary is going up on the bridge. And that's my dad does that commentary year in, year out for many years now. And his voice is so familiar at that stage. And he's talking about all the competitors racing, and as you're going up to that start line, you can begin to feel your heart beating, and then you have to turn around and you have to wait to be called to the start line, and the intensity is building, and then that loud go, and everything, you forget about everything in that moment. You're just wanting to go as fast as you can, but in your mind you're coming up to the first weir, the most important weir probably of the race, because everyone wants to get over Straffan cleanly, because if you get a good clean run in Straffan, it puts you in a really good position. And as you go over Straffan and get down cleanly, you're into the jungle. So for some people who aren't familiar with the race, the jungle is named the jungle because it's quite a tight river area. There's loads of trees and you really have to be able to steer the boat in a correct manner to try and get down as fast as possible. So you go through the jungle and then you come up to Temple Mills. So Temple Mills is the second weir. And then after Temple Mills, straight after Temple Mills, you've got Vanessa. And then after Vanessa, you're making your way through Celbridge Village, down through to the Celbridge Rapids. And then after the Celbridge Rapids, you have the Ghost Weir. So the Ghost Weir is dependent on the water level. It can be extremely high some years or very small other years. And then you come to Leixlip Lake and you're going across the 2-kilometre stretch by Salmon Canoe Club. And you come to the Portage, which is approximately 500 meters, and never gets any easier year in, year out. There might only be one portage, but it's a hard portage. And you're running down the portage and you get back in and you're going through Leixlip Rapids. Then you come to the Sluice Weir in Lucan, which then after this, you've got Lucan Weir, and then you come to Liffey Weir. And then you've got Wren's Nest, which is a big V weir, followed by another big V weir, Palmerstown. And then you've got Chapelizod before you're on the home stretch from Chapelizod to the Garda Boat Club in Island Bridge.
Well, you've just made it sound incredibly easy, Jenny, but I think we're going to need to rewind a little bit, because if we tell the listeners to just do that, there's a bit of a skill gap between your average listener and the 11-time Liffey Descent winner Jenny Egan. So let's go back to Straffan Weir, and I see it as a bit of a lottery to get down Straffan cleanly. You've got boats everywhere. You don't always get your favorite line, the best line. There's a big eddy at the bottom. It's very easy to either accidentally go into it yourself or to get spun into that eddy. So even if you do everything right yourself, there's always someone that can tip you in or spin you. How do you approach Straffan Weir?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, how you approach it is different in K2 to
Yeah.
K1. So the K2 chute is as you're approaching, is to the left, but you don't want to go too far left because you got the big bats. So you want to shoot it that you're just to the right of the bats. But as you said, even if you get a great shoot, there could be other people in your way. So I always try and make sure when I'm coming up to Straffan, when I'm approaching it, that I'm right behind someone's tail, and I make sure no one is to my side. I make sure to tell them to get behind me, because if they shoot beside me, they can push me into the bats. So I always try and advise people that you're better going single file over Straffan if you can. You're only going to maybe lose 5 seconds, whereas you gain it by not having any collisions. So, and when you get to the bottom of Straffan, you need to make sure that you have your rudder sharp right, because people get pushed into the wall there. And if you get pushed into that wall, it's just carnage, and it takes so long to get out. So as you're coming down Straffan, rudder hard right, try and get through that arch without going near the wall.
Yep. And a K1 shoot on the right?
Yeah, so K1, you go all the way over to the far right, and you go as far right as you can. You need to go all the way down and put your nose into it straight on and drop over. And there's quite a big, large hole in the bottom. So you go down and you pop back up then, hopefully.
It's a pretty tasty weir for, 1 mile into a race, really, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. And, it can make or break your race. Of course, there's always the opportunity to try and catch back up, but it's very hard to catch back up to the leaders if you have a swim in Straffan, because it can take so long to get back in your boat as well, depending on where you swam. And I for one know that when I get over Straffan, there's this kind of relief in my body. Okay, I'm through
Yeah.
Straffan, let's get going, kind of thing, because it's just so important that weir if you want to do well in the race, to get over it cleanly and without a swim.
So then we go into the jungle. Now, this is fast flowing water, lots of twists, lots of overgrown bushes, trees. I had a pretty good time of it last year. I went down with a pretty elite group. There was you definitely knew who was the weakest driver in that little bunch of boats, and I'll hold my hand up and to that. But tell us how you can get down the jungle, well.
The jungle is very physiologically demanding, because it's not somewhere that you can sit on a wash very easy. So you're best to be actually leading through the jungle if you have the capabilities to do so. Because you're not able to sit on a side wash so easily there, because there's so many tight turns. So maybe you get on a side wash and then you have to drop back and you have to get back up on a side wash. So if you're able to control the race from front, that's obviously the ideal opportunity. Otherwise, you try and just hang on the very back of the boat, of the back of the wash as such, because then you're able to maneuver without any collisions or that. And you really have to be, it's about you being aware of your steering, but you can't control the people around you either, but you try and make them aware, like, for example, maybe saying to them, drop back now, like, because I have to take this turn sharply and that. So especially for the people who aren't so familiar with it, I would recommend probably listening to the ones that are familiar as you go through the jungle, because it makes it better for everyone. It'd be worse if you got tangled in a tree and wrap a boat around it. Like, the jungle's the worst place probably to have a swim, because it would take so long to get back in your boat. So definitely listening to those familiar with the course as you're going through it, I think helps
That's
everyone.
Exactly what I did. I had your brother next to me and I just did exactly what he said. Yeah.
That's a
Well,
good
it always
option,
is.
Billy.
Yeah, he did shout at me quite a bit, much to John O'Grady's delight that someone was shouting at me. But yeah, I wasn't the best listener, but I did eventually do what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a good learning platform, the jungle.
So you come out of the jungle and just talk us through to the Portage, because they're significant features, but then they're not the biggest on the course.
Yeah, so after the jungle, you come to Temple Mills. So there's two options in Temple Mills. You can go left, which is down a fish slide. It's fast but risky. If you don't get the slide correctly, you can break your boat there very easily. Whereas if you go to the right, you can really kind of plow over on the right, take it at a slight angle, and it's much more forgiving. So, and it's not much slower to be honest, at all. So, I personally, if I had the choice, I always shoot to the right nearly because it's not as detrimental to your race for anything going wrong. Then you come up to Vanessa. So, Vanessa, you shoot at a sideways angle, and you have to make sure you're past the bats, that you don't land on the bats. So, that is the next weir after Temple Mills is Vanessa. And after Vanessa, then you come through Celbridge village. So there'll be a lot of spectators there cheering you on as you come by Abbey Lodge. Bar is on your right hand side, and a lot of people will be there cheering you on. So you come through Celbridge village and you come to Celbridge Rapids. I would normally shoot to the left hand side of the rapids, but some people do take it to the right. So very much personal preference on the rapids. And after Celbridge Rapids, then you have the Ghost Weir that I was talking about. So the Ghost Weir is it's dependent on the water level. There's been years I've come up to it and it's very small, you just drop straight over. There was one year that it was so high, and I'll never forget because it's my local weir and I've never seen it like this. And I was coming up to it and I could barely see the helmets of the rescue people down underneath. So I was like, oh God, this is high. So we just plowed over it, gone into it with speed and got over it. But it was big. So that's very unusual, but can happen. Then you come to Leixlip Lake. So you're paddling by Salmon Leap Canoe Club, my home club. And this brings you 2 kilometres up to the Portage area, where you disembark, run 500-metre portage, and get back into your boat then at the bottom. But at the bottom, you have to be very careful getting back into your boat because you have a big bridge with arches in Leixlip, and you need to really get into that middle arch. So this is a point where you need to make sure that you've got clear water, that no one pushes you into that arch. So when you come out of the portage, you need to go hard left to get into the middle of the river, and you go through Leixlip Rapids there. And Leixlip Rapids, then you go on towards the Sluice Weir. So you've got two options in this as well. You've got the sluice gate, which you shoot over to the left, or you've got the weir on the right. So I have done both shoots. If the water level is high enough, I always go to the right to the sluice, the weir, because it's safer option, less chance of falling in or breaking your boat. But there's been years when the water level hasn't allowed for you to shoot on the right, so I would shoot on the sluice gate. The sluice gate, you have to be very careful that you don't get pushed into the wall. Also, you can get spun around at the bottom of the sluice gate, so that can be a bit of a tricky area also.
Can I just stop you there? Last year, I took the weir, or the chicken run, and it was pretty bumpy. And Greg Lowe in the boat in front of us took Sluicegate, and it didn't. He had a mistake and ended up losing time there. So, how do you know before the race what water level? Because not everyone lives right on the course. How do you know before the day or on the day whether to what to take?
Yeah, so good question. Straffan Weir, you can pretty much tell by Straffan Weir because if you look at Straffan Weir, you see the bats, and beside the bats is a big wall. And if that wall is covered, you know that the water level is high, and then you know that you can shoot the chicken shoot at the sluice in Lucan. Once you don't, some of the very fast paddlers can sometimes out paddle the flow because they're going so fast, but you tend to have a fair idea when you're coming up to it as well. Depending on the level of the rapids in Leixlip, you can tell by the water movement there. And there's always obviously rescuers at the weirs as well. Tends to be someone standing at the top of the weir, at the sluice on the right, telling you can get over or not. So yeah, of course, like you said, it's less risky going the right hand side, and that's why I would always go the right hand side if the water level allows it. So it might be slightly slower, like I said, a little bit more bumpy, shallower at the bottom, but less risky.
Yeah. I remember when we went down in 2015, we were actually paddling next to each other, and Ryan asked you, what were you taking? And you said the chicken run, of course. And I think you were just like, oh, you're going to take the sluice. And I heard in your voice, and I was just like, oh, I don't even know what's going to happen now, but I know it's not going to be very pleasant.
And how did you get on? Did you get down that area?
We got through fine, but I felt the boat squirming underneath. It was I knew that it was a big feature, and that wall is very daunting when you're paddling straight towards it. But the boat does turn. It does make it. So yeah, I'm glad I did it. But if possible, in future I'll be taking the chicken run.
Yeah, and it's just it's just such a high risk. It's not even the wall is such a risky area, but also you can lose time because, like I said, at the bottom you can get spun around. It's happened to myself before in a year that I did it, and you're spun at the bottom, which means you've lost more time. So you have to get back into the flow and go down. So yeah, I would always take the right hand side of that area, the chicken shoot as such, rather than risk it on the fast one, because it just can be too detrimental to your race. But after the sluice, you can begin to hear maybe the commentary in Lucan village, my home village. So very special area for myself, and my dad is normally there doing the commentary also. So Lucan Weir, there's two options. There's the normal weir face and then what we call the high drop. So I would always pick the normal weir face. So that's when you're approaching it. It's the first part of your weir on the right. So you have to shoot this weir parallel, because you can risk breaking your boat at this weir. It's happened multiple times to many people. So when you approach Lucan Weir, you come up to it at a very parallel level and you drop over it sideways. Your nose will get pushed slightly forward, but the more parallel you are, the safer it will be. If you want to go past this, that's when you go the high drop. So high drop, again, more risky for shoulders, Billy. And
Hey, yeah.
yeah, so there's nothing to really be gained in terms of speed from doing the high drop. Few seconds maybe, but it's very risky.
Yeah, but memories last forever.
memories to maybe not do it again. Yeah, but
yeah, exactly.
At the bottom of the high drop, there's quite a hard shelf, so when you land, there can be quite a crunch. So some people love doing it, love the adrenaline of it, but it can just be risky both for your body and your boat. So I would always take the first area of Lucan Weir.
And so I had some great advice last year. You obviously you do take the low drop. And how much lower is it? Is it much lower, or is it just not as steep?
It's not as steep. It's lower definitely, but not as steep. Yeah, that's the main thing. The high drop is so steep. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. So the best advice I had, and from another Liffey veteran, was take the low drop, but go as far as you can before dropping. And the other really good advice was that the bow drops down way more than you expect. So you really do have to, approach it, as you say, parallel. It's a hard one to get right.
Yeah, for sure. And for people who haven't been on the river before, you're paddling down, not even knowing when is it coming. You kind of come around a corner and you can see this big wall on your right, and you can obviously hear the crowds and the commentary. But yeah, you can't go wrong by being as parallel as possible, and as you said, going as far down as possible on the rear face as well. So because so many people have broken their boats there, and to get that far and then not be able to finish the race
Yeah.
would not be fun.
So after Lucan, you paddle off, hopefully with both shoulders intact, and your boat is in one piece. You haven't creased it. What's next?
Yeah, so next up is Liffey. So this is a fish slide. Quite straightforward. There's normally one of the rescue people standing at the top of the weir, showing you where to shoot. But you have to be careful that if the water level is high, sometimes you can get pushed over the wall. So that's not fun. Yeah. So you need to make sure that you go into the fish slide, but kind of maybe shoot a little bit left because the water pushes you right. Okay. So if you can just kind of shoot a little bit left of the fish slide, it pushes into the fish slide, but then at the bottom you need to do hard rudder left because you can go into the tree face and the wall face at the bottom of the fish slide. So not a big V weir or anything tricky, but still has its elements of trickiness in terms of not wanting to end your race by going into the wall at the bottom or get tangled in a tree at the bottom. So again, needing to know kind of how to approach it.
So you mentioned the big V-Weirs, and I believe they're next, and that is a feature that's really unique to the Liffey Descent. So Wren's Nest and Palmerstown, they're weir numbers 8 and 9. I really struggle with these just to line them up, and I'm convinced you've got to be local to really line them up. If anyone doesn't know, we'll put some pictures up. But you need to ride the tongue down the center of these V-weirs. Have you got any tips for people? Mostly me, but you can tell everyone else. How do you line that up?
Yeah, absolutely. They're two big viewers that you shoot in slightly different ways. So for myself, coming up to Wren's Nest, there's normally a big willow tree on the right hand side that overhangs. And I know if I go up to the willow tree and turn into the V and be left of the V, I'm going to be fine. You're better to be left of the V than right. You need to be left of the V because on the right is a massive stopper. So you're better to be too far left than to risk being to the right of the V. So Wren's Nest, left of V, slightly left of V. Like I said, you come up, big willow trees on the right, you turn into the V and left of V, and you get pushed down nicely. Obviously, you go into it with speed. That's most important. When I get up to that willow tree on the right, I sprint into the V.
Now, if you had to guess, Jenny, how do you reckon I shot it last year?
Right of V.
Right of the V, and I did it slowly as well.
Well, now you know, Billy. Now you know.
Yeah,
So next year when you're back. Yeah. So that stopper on the right is not fun. You don't want to get stuck in there. And yeah, so you come into it at speed, slightly left of the V, brace as you go down. A lot of people make the mistake to paddle, but better to brace until you get through the big waves and to the bottom of it. So, and then you paddle off. And then we come to another big V weir, which is Palmerstown. So this is a big V, but slightly different to Wren's in terms that you're better to be slightly right of the V because the big stopper is down on the left.
Guess which way I went last year?
Left.
Yeah, left. And we swam.
Yeah. It's not a pleasant swim either because it takes a while to get back in. So years ago, actually, Palmerstown used to be a lot bigger than it is now. You would get down the V area and there would be this huge wave that would literally submerge you at the bottom. And like you literally come up and you're like, oh, I'm alive still. I'm still in the boat. And like your thermal is just stuck to you and you're like, okay, nearly on the home stretch. But that big wave at the bottom is no longer there because they've actually built a small weir below Palmerstown. So that has stopped that big wave being there. So it's actually a lot more straightforward than it used to be. But yes, most important with Palmerstown, you'll be coming up to it and you'll see Wild Water Kayak Club on your left. You go towards the V. You'll see the bubble as you're coming up to it, right of Via Palmerstown. And you go into speed, right of Via Palmerstown, and you're away. If you go left, you're sucked into the stopper. So yeah, that's what's most important at Palmerstown. And I think when you get down Palmerstown, you can nearly kind of take a bit of a breather because you know that the biggest weirs are behind you. You've got one more weir, Chapelizod, which it's not a big weir, but it can be a boat breaker.
Yeah, I know someone that took the front of her boat off last year, and yeah, it is a boat breaker potentially.
Yeah, for sure. So some people shoot into the fish slide or just go parallel kind of at a slight angle down the weir face. So again, kind of personal preference. And then you're almost home on the way to Island Bridge.
Yep. Well, as we said, we shot Chapelizod last year, and I said, I think John O'Grady said, oh, that's it, we're done. And I said, well, I do know one crew that have swam between here and the finish. And John went, yeah, I think I know who you mean. But, you can swim on the flat water between Chapelizod and the finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And fatigue is such a big part at that stage. So lack of concentration can really get you, and you could fall in there. But yeah, that's kind of the last place you'd want to fall in at that stage. You just want to get to the finish line.
So we've gone through the whole course now virtually. I felt my heart was like racing a little bit at points there. But do you have a particular like moment of the race or part of the course that's your favorite, something that you look forward to when you race it?
Yeah, absolutely. My hometown, Lucan Village, it's very special. I've lived there my whole life, and yeah, I just know it's my village and it's my home weir. And I know when I come there, there'll be a lot of local people from our community watching and hearing my dad's commentary in Lucan as well. Tom Egan is very special in our hometown, and it attracts many spectators, Lucan Village, because it's easily accessible in terms of being able to watch the weir. So yeah, so that's very special. And then getting to the finish line is always so special, and celebrating with your family, my mum Angie Egan, my brother Peter Egan, my dad Tom Egan, and my husband John Simmons. I think that relief you feel when you get to the finish, and obviously if you've no swims, no breakages to any boats or paddles, and you've done a good race and hopefully finished on the podium, it's always a good day.
So you've run the race virtually every time you've done it. Going down the race cleanly is one aspect to it, but what would you say are the differentiators that would take a crew from sort of like being in that front bunch to actually winning the race? Like what does it take to actually kind of get to that top spot that even some of the other quick boats might be missing?
Yeah, well, obviously, a clean race is most important, but then your physiological ability, your aerobic capacity, um, your race plan in terms of your strategy, your nutritional strategy is so important. Like every race, you need to take carbohydrates on board to be able to have the energy to get through this 30-kilometer race. But obviously, it's very different to a flat water race. The fittest, strongest people won't always win. Canoe marathon is always about tactical awareness. So the Liffey has an extra element in terms of being able to shoot weirs and shoot them cleanly and not swim and not break a boat or not break your paddle. So there's so many elements to it. And we've had South African paddlers say that the Liffey is probably one of the most technical races because it's not like you can just plow over the weirs in any position, any place. You have to know where to shoot the weirs. So it's not just that the water level is big, it's knowing where to shoot each of the weirs. And coming from, fantastic athletes from South Africa to hear that. They said it's very different to some of their river races because you can just plow over the water in certain, like in any area of like a weir. But in Ireland, there's so much more technical because you can't just shoot the weir anywhere. You need to know each weir where to shoot. And I guess that's probably the most important part of the Liffey as well, being aware of the shoot of each weir.
So it's almost like a race of precision.
Absolutely, yeah, race precision, yeah. It's not a race you can go down without knowing where you're going. Very unusual to do well in the Liffey Descent if you do not know your shoots. So yeah, definitely a race of precision as well as physiological ability and strength. Yeah, physically and mentally.
The Liffey website does a really good job of showing you the weirs. There's the weir guide of the illustration and the videos. It's really useful and something that I certainly used a lot last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people who aren't familiar with the race would maybe put a map on the front of their deck that they can view, and they have each weir in order of where to shoot. So this definitely helps you. You know whether you have to go river left or river right, and like that's really important. So little tips like that I think really help people coming over to do the race for the first time. Obviously, if you've got time and you can be there on the Friday the day before and are able to view the weirs, that's obviously a big bonus. And having someone familiar with the racing course giving you advice on each of the weir, again, another brilliant bonus to have. But if you're not in that situation, definitely get one of the maps of the racing course that shows you where to shoot each of the weirs and put it on your boat, because it's only going to help you, and you're going to have much more enjoyable, successful race as well with that.
And don't mix up left and right on the last
Well,
two.
you don't want to do that, but it just helps when you're fatigued and you're just maybe not concentrating quite as well because of that sort of low energy levels. You can just go, boom, okay, we know what we're doing here. And it's a good thing to do between your crew. You can, it doesn't need to be the front paddler that has it. Your back man is a good way to start talking to each other and just, get some team spirit going as well when you're tired.
Yeah, for sure. In a K2 boat, it's really important to communicate between the two of you. So in any race, that's important to do when you're in a crew boat. So yeah, definitely. I think being able to communicate, figure out how your partner is, making sure that they're comfortable, if they need anything extra that you need to do, it's always great to have in a race to have that communication, vitally important. But yeah, like I said, for people who aren't familiar with the course, try and look at videos on YouTube, look at the Canoeing Ireland website, possibly be able to view the weirs the day before if it's not something you're able to do, if you're not able to be in that area early, get one of the maps and put it on your boat. And it just gives you something to refer to as you're going down. And as you said, Billy, fatigue can set in, throughout the race, and everyone gets tired racing, but it's being able to kind of overcome that and stay focused on each of the weirs, that will definitely help.
So we haven't got any start lists out at the moment, but I know a few good English crews coming across to race. Do you know any good Irish crews doing the race?
No, everyone's keeping their cards very close to their chest at the moment. So yeah, I'm not sure yet. Like I said, the start list will probably only be out a few days beforehand. Do you want to share some of your strong English crews?
Well, on the Irish side, I heard a rumor that Tom Brennan is going extremely well.
That's a very true fact. He's paddling very well, and from the best of my knowledge, he is racing the K1. Yeah.
Okay. Your brother is always got an entry. Is he going to be racing?
He will be racing, but I'm not sure if he's decided yet if he's going to do the K1 or the K2. So time will tell.
Okay. I have a Scottish and Irish crew of Paul Russell and Tom Dawson, who I think might go quite well. Do you know Paul?
Yes, I know Paul Russell quite well. Yeah, he loves a river race, and he's very gutsy and determined. So I'm sure they will be right up in contention. Yeah.
So the English crews that I know of, actually one is a South African / English crew, and that is John O'Grady and Jason Graham. Jason has been away from the canoeing scene for a little bit, but he has some very impressive results on the Umco, on the Fish. He's a very experienced South African river racer. And of course, John O'Grady, my K2 partner. So they could feature.
Yeah, sounds strong.
Next two crews are really tasty. I've got George Durden and James Walkington.
Okay, very good. I'm not so familiar with James Walkington. I might know if I saw him with George. Yeah.
I don't think they're hugely experienced river racers, but they're going to be a very strong crew.
George Durden won the DW K1 race this year, and James Walkington finished second. And James beat George on the final day of it. So definitely good on the marathon and sort of ultra side. But yeah, not a descent race. So
I think they've both done well on the Cellar Descent as well.
yes.
And your final one was?
My final one is Charlie Smith and Will Stroud.
Nice.
I think that crew might have enough speed to make up for some mistakes.
Time will tell, hey? Time will tell.
Yeah, well, if you're going to keep your cards close to your chest with the Irish crews, then we're not gonna know anyone else, are we?
Maybe we can do a podcast afterwards to discuss how people did.
I think we'll have to do that.
So I believe that there's a team from Spain coming over for the Liffey Descent as well this year. So, they will be very strong competitors. And I'm sure that we're going to get some other competitors from Europe as well as worldwide coming to the 64th International Liffey Descent.
That would be great to see. Are we going to ask you to pick a favorite from the teams we've just listed, or is that fair?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, go on, Jenny. Pick your favorite.
Can you pick your favorite from those teams?
From the teams you've named.
Only the ones we know who are in it. Yeah.
Obviously, Charlie Smith is a fantastic international paddler for GB. But the Liffey Descent is so different. But if they have a clean run, I'm sure they'll be very fast. Like you said, George Durden and his partner, very good, accomplished paddlers in the DW this year. So they'll have great endurance for it. So Paul Russell, very good on rivers. So it's very hard to tell. They'll definitely all be up with in the mix as such for the race. But yeah, let's see what other crews line up as well, because I'm sure it's going to be interesting. And as you said, John O'Grady and his partner, John, very familiar with the river, will have experience. So I'm sure he'd be looking to get back on the podium this year as well.
Well, let's take a step back and look at things a bit higher level. The Liffey Descent, obviously, it's super long-standing race, and I think it's and really internationally well known, really well established. The date has changed and then changed back in recent years. What do you think, Jenny, if you have kind of a pulse on this, where do you think the race might be headed in the future, or where would you like to see the race go from where it is now?
Yeah, so traditionally it was always in September, approximately around the second or third week of September. So that's the ideal date, but we can't control the water levels, unfortunately. And that's the only problem with having it in September, is the fact that we can't guarantee water. However, a survey went out to the Canoeing Ireland members this year to ask, would they prefer to have it in May with guaranteed water, or would they prefer to have it in September and the water levels are not guaranteed? So everyone voted for September. The majority voted for September. So that's why Canoeing Ireland went with September this year. but completely out of their control. There's been work done on the Golden Falls Dam. So because of the work being done on the dam, we couldn't have it in September. So it had to be pushed back to October, completely out of the hands of anybody. So it's just the way it is this year. But I would see it going back to September in the future years. I think it's great to have it in September as well for the Irish community in canoeing, because we have our domestic races throughout the summer, and a lot of people, use those domestic races in the build up and for training for the Liffey Descent. But there also is then that side of it that we can't always guarantee water for September, because it depends on the summer we've had. If it's a nice dry summer and sunny, then water levels can be very low. So yeah, if people want high water levels, then it's going to be May. But if they are accepting that we can't control the water levels and they will be what they will be in September, then I think it will be September.
Yeah, that's tough. And water levels, it sounds like, could potentially be an issue even this year as well, because it's been such a
possibly yeah, we've had a fantastic summer in Ireland, but because it's October, we've had a good amount of rain now in September. So look, we'll have to see. Time will tell. It's something that's just not controllable by anybody. But I would think that the water level will be pretty good for October.
Okay, good. Should be some good racing then.
Absolutely, bring it on.
Brilliant. So while we have you, just tell us about the scene in Ireland right now.
Yeah, it's really strong, Billy. It's in a really good place. So Salmon Leap Canoe Club have a fantastic group of junior athletes working their way up. We have groups as low down as E and F working their way up to the A and B groups. So it's been a phenomenal year for Salmon Leap Canoe Club and Canoeing Ireland. John Simmons is the coach of Sean Butterly. He won the Junior Canoe Marathon World Championships this year in Győr, Hungary, and he won European Championship medals earlier in the year in Ponte at the marathons also, and then finished the season by winning the K1000 meter under 17 Olympic Hopes Regatta that was on in Rychis, Czech Republic. So to have that up and coming junior at such a high level inspires the people below him. And I know myself, when I was younger, I always looked up to the people who were on the podium and I was inspired by them. And I think we can see that growing now also in canoeing in Ireland. There's big groups of juniors coming through. And what's most important among all these junior athletes and under 23 athletes is that they are enjoying the journey, the day in, day out journey, because as an athlete, that is the most important part, to enjoy that training, the day in, day out, and to work together as a group, encouraging each other and to try and be the best version of you that you can be as an athlete. I think that's what everyone's trying to be, the best that they can be, and to hopefully achieve the goals that they have set out.
And how lucky that they all have you to look up to as a role model.
Oh, thank you, Betsy. Thank you.
It's it sounds like you've certainly had challenges, I'm sure, being often the only Irish paddler or the only female Irish paddler at a lot of these events where you've paddled so incredibly well over the years. But I'm sure that is part of what's having such a positive ripple effect on the younger paddlers now.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Betsy and Billy, for having me on the podcast. I really enjoyed chatting and hopefully chat to you again in the future.
Thank you so much, Jenny.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Jenny.